animated horror story.
It was supposed to be a quiet week. My parents had gone on vacation, leaving me home alone. The first night was peaceful, but by the second, I began to hear strange noises, faint tapping, then scraping coming from beneath the floorboards. At first, I brushed it off as rodents or the house settling, but the sounds grew louder, more deliberate, as if someone were crawling under the house. Uneasy, I called my parents. "Do we have a basement I don't know about?" I asked. "No," they replied firmly. "There's only a crawl space. Nobody can fit down there," but I couldn't ignore it. The next day, I went outside to investigate. Behind a pile of rotting planks and debris, I discovered something I was never supposed to find. A rusty storm door, half buried in dirt. With trembling hands, I pried it open. A dark stairwell led down into a basement, one my parents had never mentioned. The air smelled of mildew and decay. My flashlight beam revealed food containers, a filthy mattress, and crude drawings scrawled into the concrete walls. Disturbing figures, tally marks, and scratches that looked like someone had clawed their way into the stone. It was clear someone had been living there. Panic surged through me. I ran up, slammed the door shut, and locked it with the heaviest padlock I could find. That night, I tried to sleep, but at midnight the banging began. Something, or someone, was pounding on the door, demanding to be let back inside. Heart racing, I peeked through the window. In the pale moonlight, a dark figure sprinted across the yard and disappeared into the woods. The police searched but found nothing. The basement remained empty, but I'll never forget the violent pounding on that door, or the thought that if I hadn't locked it, maybe I wouldn't be here to tell the story. I often drove the same rural back road to work. One morning, I noticed an old blue sedan parked on the shoulder. At first, I thought nothing of it, but the next day, the car was still there. The third day, too. Suspicious, I reported it. A week later, I learned the car belonged to a man who had been reported missing. I volunteered in the search party that combed the surrounding woods. After hours of trudging through thick brush, we stumbled across something chilling. A hidden shack concealed between twisted trees. The place looked abandoned. Inside, the floor was littered with food cans and broken glass. A moldy mattress sagged in one corner. The air was stale, heavy with the smell of rot. Then I saw it, a bullet hole in the wall, surrounded by dark stains. My stomach dropped. We called the police, who quickly arrived, cordoned off the shack, and ordered us to leave. By the next day, the search was abruptly shut down. No explanation, no answers, just silence. But I couldn't shake the image of that bullet hole. A few nights later, curiosity got the better of me. I returned alone, retracing my steps through the woods. My flashlight beam cut through the trees until I reached the clearing. But the shack was gone. The space where it had stood was empty, the ground bare, like nothing had ever been built there. I stumbled around in disbelief, certain I had the right spot, but there was no trace, no wood, no nails, no debris, just silence. To this day, I can't explain it. Either the shack was destroyed and erased overnight, or something far stranger had taken place. And every time I drive past that stretch of road, I can't shake the feeling that the truth was covered up, or maybe wasn't human at all. My friend Adil had just moved into a new apartment. It was clean, spacious, and cheap. Too cheap. The landlord only had one condition: never use the back room. It's just storage. The first night Adil dreamed of knocking. Slow, steady knocks coming from behind that locked door. By the second week, curiosity won. He pried the door open. The room was bare, but the walls told another story. Long scratches ran across the plaster, like fingernails clawing for escape. Strange black lines covered the corners, and at the very bottom, faint red writing. I am still here. That night, the apartment changed. Doors creaked open on their own. Shadows darted across the walls. In the mirror, he saw figures that weren't his own. The back room grew colder every day. One evening, he heard sobbing from inside. A woman's voice, muffled, pleading. Heart pounding, he stepped inside with a flashlight. The walls were now covered with tally marks, dozens of them, stretching across every surface. The message at the corner was no longer faint. It was fresh. The words had changed. You let me out. Before he could move, the door slammed shut. He pounded, shouted, but the lock wouldn't budge. His neighbors heard screams through the night. By morning, they broke down the door. The room was empty. Adil was gone. Now, the apartment remains unrented. Those who pass by claim they still hear soft knocking from the black room at night. Others say if you dare to look inside, the walls keep counting, adding one more. When I moved into my new apartment, I noticed something strange. The place was perfect, spacious, clean, with a balcony that overlooked the street. But one thing bothered me. In the living room, a massive old mirror was bolted into the wall. Its glass was cloudy, worn with age, and carried a faint, unsettling aura. Don't remove it, the landlord warned me casually. That mirror has always been here. I laughed it off. Who cared about an old piece of glass? The first night passed quietly, but by the second night I noticed something unsettling. As I turned off the lights, I thought I saw movement in the mirror. At first, I assumed it was just my reflection, but when I leaned closer, my blood ran cold. The figure in the glass looked like me, but not quite. Its eyes were hollow, dark pits, and its lips curled into a faint, unnatural smile. When I blinked, the reflection was normal again. I told myself it was exhaustion, stress, imagination, but every night it grew worse. The shadow in the mirror seemed to creep closer, lingering longer, staring deeper. Sometimes I saw it standing behind me when I was completely alone. Other times, it moved when I did not. Then one evening, my friend Arif visited. We were chatting in the living room when he suddenly froze, his face pale. "Who's that? Standing behind you?" I turned instantly, but the room was empty. Arif swore he saw someone, tall, dark, leaning just over my shoulder. That was the moment I knew it wasn't just in my head. Terrified, I decided to get rid of the mirror. When I unbolted it from the wall, dust poured down and something caught my eye. Words scratched deep into the plaster behind it. "Whoever gazes into this glass will set me free." My hand shook. Heart racing, I slammed the mirror onto the floor. The glass shattered with a deafening crack. For a moment, silence. Then, a gust of icy wind roared through the apartment, and a whisper filled the air, like a voice unchained after centuries of silence. The lights flickered. Everything went dark. When I opened my eyes, I was lying in my bed. The mirror was gone. The room looked untouched, as if nothing had happened. I almost believed I'd dreamed it all, until I caught sight of my wardrobe mirror. My reflection stared back at me, but this time, something was wrong. I was standing perfectly still, but in the mirror my reflection smiled. A wide, unnatural grin stretched across its face. one I wasn't making. And in that moment, I realized the shadow hadn't left with the broken glass. It was inside me now,